Shadowing. Unemployment rates as rate hikes hit the economy. Filipino was one of almost 90 workers recently laid off by now pay late business open pay. I think it came from a shock for everyone in his company, to be honest. I don't think anyone has anything that happening. She's canceled her gym and streaming membership as she tried to rein in her spending, but she's feeling positive about rejoining the workforce soon. I just know it will be processed. I know some company take 4 or 5 interview. It could be another month or so before I really get a contract. But I do feel confident we get something. How you finding the market at the moment so tricky? The tech sector has been widespread job losses as it slowed down from the peak demands of COVID and is hit by higher borrowing costs to support rising interest rates. That's keeping recruiting busy. With these counter economic conditions, many of those same businesses are having to rein in those forecasts, and as a result, they've been having to look at their headcount as one of their main costs as business. 11,500 people lost their job in January as employment rose for the second month in a row, and participation rates at its lower and hour of work were also down, reflecting a larger than usual number of people taking annual leave. This is the expected outcome, the expected consequence of global turbulence and rising interest rates playing out in our economy. The Reserve Bank government says employment will rise to 4.5% next year, which net ones will impact many Australians, not just those without a job. Although the employment rate is only going up by 1% point, the vast majority of people, this will feel a lot weaker than the headline to suggest. Why is this one part of the BT still gets it's even though unemployment is starting to tick higher, people are still joining the workforce. Maybe cultural reasons start a new role as a data analysis after 2 years of job hunting. Being employed for as long as I was, you miss the structure of work and the sort of time, so having the sort of sense of purpose we get out to do this and I beat my day around that has actually helped a lot. So then we have to update these pins. Matthew is a middle income owner who's still feeling the pinch from cost of living pressures. There's just a lot of things are getting more expensive helps a lot, but you still have to plan a little bit of wrong stuff. To get inflation back under control, there's a bank government says more interest rate rises are needed. NAB is tipping 3 more, which will take a cash rate above 4%. And we think that will slow the economy sufficiently to raising the inflation pressures. Unfortunately, slowing the economy also means the employment rate will rise. The pain is far from over. One more. Filipino was one of the almost 90 workers recently laid off by buy now paying later business open pay. I think it came from a shock for everyone at company, to be honest. I don't think anyone has anything that happening. She's canceled her gym and streaming membership as she tried to rein in her spending, but she's feeling positive about rejoining the workforce soon. I just know I will process. I know some company take 4 to 5 interview, could be another month or so before I really get a contract. But I do feel confident we get something. The tech sector has seen widespread job losses as it slowed down from a peak demands of COVID and is hit by higher borrowing costs from rising interest rates. That's keeping recruiters busy. With these current economic conditions, many of those teams businesses are having to rein in those forecasts, and as a result, they are having to look at their headcount as is one of their main costs as a business. 11,500 people lost their job in January as employment rose for the second month in a row. The participation rates edged lower and our work were also down, reflecting a lot unusual number of people taking annual leave. This is the expected outcome, the expected consequence of global turbulence and rising interest rates playing out in our economy. The Reserve Bank government says employment will rise to 4.5% next year, which not more will impact many Australians, not just those with a job. Although the employment rate is only going up by 1% points, the vast majority of people conditions will feel a lot weaker than the headlines to suggest. Why is this normal part of the BTS scandal? Even though employment is starting to tick higher, people are still joining the workforce. Much culture recently started a new role as a data analyst after 2 years of job hunting. Being employment for as long as I was, you miss the structure of work and the sort of time, so having the sort of the sense of purpose we get up to do this and I build my day around that has actually helped a lot, so that we have to update this pin. Matthew is a middle-income earner who's still feeling the pinch from cost of living pressures. There are still a lot like things are getting more expensive that helps a lot, but you still have to plan a little bit of wrong stuff. To get inflation back under control, there is a bank government says more interest rate rises are needed now as tipping 3 more, which will take a cash rate above 4%. And we think that will slow the economy sufficiently to raise inflation pressures. Unfortunately, slowing the economy also means the employment rate will rise. The pain is far from over. Last, Faye Pina was one of almost 90 workers recently laid off by White left the business open pay. I think it came from a shock for everyone in his company, to be honest. I don't think anyone had anything that happening. She has canceled her gym and streaming membership as she tried reining her spending, but she's feeling positive about rejoining the workforce soon. I just know I will be processed. I know some companies take 4 or 5 interviews, could be another month or so before I really get a contract, but I do for confidence I get something. The tech scene has widespread job losses as it slowed down from a peak demands of COVID, then it's hit by higher borrowing costs from rising interest rates. That's keeping recruiters busy. With these currently economic conditions, many of those same businesses are having to rein in those forecasts, and as a result, they are having to look at their headcount as is one of their main costs as a business. 11,500 people lost their job in January as employment rose for the second month in a row, and participation rate edges lower, and our work went also down, reflecting a larger than usual number of people taking annual leave. This is the expected outcome, the expected consequence of global turbulence and rising interest rates playing out in our economy. The Reserve Bank government says employment will rise to 4.5% next year, which snap warrant will impact many Australians, not just those without a job. Although employment rate is only going up by 1% point, the vast majority of people conditions will feel a lot weaker than the headlines do suggest. Even though employment is starting to tick higher, people are still joining the workforce. Matthew Culture recently started a new role as a data analyst after 2 years of job hunting. Being employed for as long as was, you miss the structure of work and the sort of the time, so having the sort of sense of purpose we get up to do and I build my day around that has actually helped a lot. So then we have to update these pains. Matthew is a middle-income earner who's still feeling the pinch from a cost of living pressures. There's still a level of like things are getting more expensive that helps a lot, but we still have to plan a little bit around stuff. To get inflation back under control, the federal government's more interest rate rises are needed. Now it's tipping 3 more, which will take a cash rate above 4%. And we think that will slow the economy sufficiently to raise the inflation pressure. Unfortunately, slow the economy also means the employment rate will rise. The pain is far from over.